We got some news to get into. This week's a huge week for Delves. I'm going to tell you why. We got some DPS charts to talk about as well for both Mythic Plus and Raid. We'll talk a little bit about those. And what else? 11.1.5 PTR updates? Yeah, let's just dive right in. Enough with the intro. Let's go here. Additional Catalyst charges are now available for the War Within Season 2. That's right, this is your second Catalyst charge for the season. You got your first one when the season kicked off. These are your Essences of Khajiit. They're given every other week. Players receive their first charge, as I said, at the launch of the Season 2 in Week 4. I should say on March 4th. With this being the third week of Season 2, players are now receiving another Essence charge. You can go ahead and use those. Be a little bit deterministic. The way I do it oftentimes early in the season is, if you want to upgrade your gear, first of all, Heroic gear is the best thing to do it on, especially if you're a Heroic level Raider. But at the same time, say you're not, whatever, you're a normal Raider or something. You want to try to upgrade gear that'll put your tier set towards the end of the raid. So I'm not going to look right now at the chart, but say like chest for drops off of Gallywix, right? You're probably going to want to get chest tier set before you get gloves, which drops off the first boss or something. Just understand that, kind of play that strategy out, because you're more likely to kill the first boss every week than you are the last boss. So getting that tier set from the final parts of the raid is a little bit more important, and maybe better luck for you in terms of not getting replaced right after you upgraded it. So there you go. Xal'atath's Bargain Voidbound is this week's Mythic Plus affix. Getting in and, void bounding yourself. It's the little guy that gets summoned. You got to kill him quickly to get the buff. If you don't, he puts up the Dark Prayer buff on all the ads around you. So killing that quickly is the way to go there. The War Within hotfixes are in as well after today's reset, and there's a few things here or there, but some interesting stuff is more dungeon and raid nerfs. That's right, Cinderbrew Meadery saw some nerfs. Reduced damage from a couple of these bosses and ads as well. So a few increased cast times. Interestingly enough, there was a timer reduction here. Darkflame Cleft, now their timer is reduced to 31 minutes. It was a 33-minute Mythic Plus timer, so you got 2 less minutes there. But still, I think Darkflame Cleft, I mean, honestly, I went in there with a group. We wiped a couple times and still timed it fairly easily. So I think the 2 minutes isn't too bad there. Operation Floodgates, some nerfs as well, damage reductions here. And then Operation Mechagon, there was just a little issue. Now, Priory of the Sacred Flame, we saw an increase in the timer here. 32 minutes now was 32 minutes, 30 seconds. It was 30 minutes, so there you go, a little bit more time for that. We actually did see, across the board right now, the dungeons are pretty even in terms of participation. We looked at those numbers yesterday, but Priory of the Sacred Flame actually had the least keys timed. So they probably looked at that and said, yeah, we got to add a couple minutes. So that's good for Priory of the Sacred Flame. I know it's one of the harder ones right now, but it's actually my favorite aesthetically. I love that place. Looking at the raid, we know Mythic, Race to World First is over, which usually leads to a bunch of nerfs. That's what we're seeing here. A bunch of nerfs to the bosses in terms of Mythic. We also see right here for Junkyard Hyenas in the Styx Bunkin Junker fight, all difficulties saw a 33% reduction in damage there. So that's going to affect everybody. But other than that, it's all Mythic difficulty nerfs for these bosses right here. Good to see if you're progressing on Mythic, I guess. Besides that, Delves, guys. It's a week of Delves. You got to do your Delves this week, and the reason is not only are you getting a bunch of increased rewards, but you can also get a piece of 636 item level gear. That's Champion 1 of 8, can be increased and pumped up as well. So, and you get your shot at the Delve Obot 7001. This thing is a toy that will transport you to the nearest bountiful delve. That's right, a really good time saver here. This thing costs absolutely nothing. I'll talk a little bit more about it here in a second. But why is this week important? Well, the Sign of the Explorer buff is live this week, and what it means is you get a 25% increase to Delver's Journey gains, 25% Seasonal Companion experience gains, so Brand can get leveled up, and 25% increase to your Undercoins gains. So some important buffs there. It's going to be a good time to run Delves. Not only that, a Call to Delves is the quest that's now live. You can get it from your Adventure Journal or from Archivist Frithrun in Dornegal. Picking up this quest will allow you to do 5 Delves, and when you turn it in, you'll get that item level 636 gear that I was mentioning just now. For the toy that I was mentioning earlier, if you reach rank 7 on your Delves progression, you can get yourself the Delve Obot 7000. It's only 10 resonance crystals. 10 resonance crystals to be able to port yourself to any bountiful delve. That's a great thing. It's going to save you a lot of time throughout the season as you delve into delves more. So getting that is important, and this is a great week to get it because of all these reputation buffs and everything else for your delver's journey. So great time to do delves, great time to delve into delves, great time for the Gregs of accounting out there. Patch 11.1.5 PTR development notes. We got more updates here. Horrific Visions Revisited. This is live on the PTR now. We're seeing more vision talents available this week, so we'll be looking a little bit more into that. I'll be talking about that stuff as the days pass here. Dastardly Duos is that new challenge mode where you fight 2 bosses. They're giving more bosses. This actually will begin testing, so we haven't actually seen what this thing looks like. But the testing is now beginning, so we're going to get some looks at what this actually looks like as the week goes on. Cooldown manager updates and user interface and accessibility updates. So we'll see how PTR plays out. Loyal Customer Liberation of Undermine raid buff is now live. What is this? Well, you guys know the renown track for the raid exists, right? But it is basically time-gated, so you can only get 1 renown per week. Well, this week, at Renown 4, you'll be able to gain the Loyal Customer buff. That's a 3% buff to your healing and DPS. This is big for everybody. Now, remember, you don't have to full clear the raid to get the renown. All you got to get is 2,500 reputation to get each week's little renown track buff, okay? This is essentially just doing about half the raid. You get reputation actually from a bunch of the trash and shit too, so it's actually a little bit less than half the raid. You can get 5,000 total if you clear the raid in total. So, and this carries over any difficulty. So say you did normal, you got first 3 bosses down, heroic 1 boss, and then you do some LFR. That'll fill out your track there. So doing this on any difficulty just to ensure that you get these reputation, you get the reputation needed to get to this level 4. It's a great idea, and it's all backtrackable, right? If say you're just starting on the renown track, you can gain all the way up to level 4. It's not 1 renown per week. It's just time gated, where right now you can't go past 4. So nice little buff for everybody there. Should help out in the raid clearing and everything else. Archivist reminds me of Korthia, Sam's favorite zone. I hope we go to Korthia eventually. All right, Liberation of Undermine. The week is in. Let's look at the DPS charts, both for a single target and multi-target here. And there's a big surprise. Windwalker Monk has shot up the charts, guys. It is the age of Windwalker Monk. I don't know if I've ever seen Windwalker Monk at the top of the charts. You guys correct me if I maybe missed this happen, but Windwalker Monk currently doing the top DPS in the game. We looked at the charts in terms of parses out there. Windwalker Monk is also one of the least played classes in the game. So right now, if you've been riding out as a Windwalker Monk, you are getting rewarded big time, because not only are you top of the DPS charts, but you are one of the rarest DPS classes out there in terms of how many people are actually playing this class. So good for them. Yeah, happy for Windwalker Monk for sure, Eco. Affliction Warlock just behind him. Outlaw Rogue. We see Shadow Priest, Fire Mage, and Destra Warlock. Fire Mage is also one that really came back strong recently. Unholy Death Knight here in the middle. Enhancement Shaman. Still doing pretty good. Furry Warrior sitting there in the middle. We'll look at some of these are actually tops for single target. Feral Druid there. A bunch of rogue specs all right here. So we see Outlaw and then Ass and Sub Titty here in the middle. Beast Mastery Hunter, Marksmanship Hunter down here. So Hunter, multi-target, not the best right now. Not the best. They're all kind of mid-tier to low tier here. And then rounding out the bottom, if you're playing Mage, you got to play Fire right now if you're doing multi-target damage, basically Mythic Plus, because Frost and Arcane are kind of doing shit right now. But let's look at that single target damage here. Arms Warrior, pumping it out. Fire Mage, Affliction Warlock up here as well. And then Windwalker Monk, still doing good, even on single targets. So you're hyper viable, whether you're doing Mythic Plus, whether you're doing Raid. It's a great time to be it. Yeah. Hunters right now, they're doing all right. Beast Mastery is probably the best spec for them. Doing okay on single target, but we saw multi-target, they're really mid-tier. Their other specs are kind of low, but I can't feel bad for Hunter. I mean, they had a great Season 1. Havoc Demon Hunter also doing pretty good on single target. Destro Warlock, Unholy Death Knight, Shadow Priest here in the middle. We see the Rogue specs as well. Outlaw doing the best on single target. Enhancement Shaman, Survival Hunter, Frosty K. Rounding out the bottom here, Arcane Mage, just not doing good in anything really right now. Balanced Druid, Elemental Shaman down here at the bottom. Rat Pally, funny enough, one of the most played classes in the game. Also one of the shittier DPS right now, and yet that doesn't stop people from playing it. People just love to play Red Pally, so it is what it is. Biggest movers up and down, let's see from last week. So the biggest mover up, we got a 7 mover here. 10 spots up for Feral Druid. in overall damage. That's the biggest mover up. We've seen followed by Arms Warrior, Destro Warlock, and Affliction Warlock that all moved up 7 spots. Biggest movers down, I see Ass Rogue. Is that what I see here? Yeah, Ass Rogue, 11 spots down is the biggest mover down, followed by Sub Titty Rogue, 8 spots down. So the Rogue getting the hammer. Outlaw moved up 5 spots, so they're doing much better, but your other Rogue specs not so much. So there you go. We'll keep tracking these week to week, see what they look like. But for now, we are in the age of the Windwalker Monk. Who would have thunk? There you go. And that is all in terms of news.